sunnah to dress like them? What was the clothing of the Prophet and Sahaba? Is it considered sunnah to dress like them? I've answered that on several questions, that no, it's not sunnah. It's not that Islam never brought a uniform. Islam came for the whole world and for all times and all places. Islam did not come to turn everybody into 7th century Arabs. Okay, the Prophet's clothing was not very different from the clothing of the non-Muslims of his time. Okay, it wasn't different at all. They just wore the same clothing, so you couldn't really tell. The Prophet never all of a sudden became, Islam came and then the Prophet started wearing thobes and everybody else walked around with, I don't know, suits on. It wasn't like that. They all just wore the same clothing. They all just looked normal. Muslims, non-Muslims, they all looked the same. They didn't have any... The Prophet just modified certain aspects of arrogance. Like they would drag their cloth. Not all of them used to go around dragging their cloth, but those who thought they were dons or whatever. And so the Prophet said, look, don't do that, it's arrogance. And so he just modified certain things. But he didn't change their clothing. And in the hadith in Tirmidhi, that when the Prophet went to Tabuk, of the Battle of Tabuk, which was under the Roman Empire, to fight against, in the Ghazwa to Tabuk, he's gone to, which was part of Rome, he wore a Roman thobe. Okay, he wore a Jubba Shamia, or they say Jubba Rumia. And it was actually it was anti-wudu, if I can use that word, because you couldn't even do wudu with it on because it was too tight from the wrist. So the Prophet had to, in the hadith, take his arm out from beneath and then wash it for wudu and then put it back. So there's nothing wrong in wearing different clothing, and Islam does not bring a uniform, and we in the West generally should dress in accordance with our lands, okay, with our culture. We shouldn't dress like... I'm not down with this... I don't mind now and then putting a jubba on, or putting a thobe on as a one-off thing, or wearing the shalwar kameez as a one-off. I don't mind that. But, you see, I feel... I've been asked on several occasions. Now they've just given up on me. But there was a time when people used to ask me a lot that, look, we want you to come do a talk, or we want you to do this, we want you to do that, but because you dress in Western clothes, we can't do that. If you'll compromise on this position, then we can host you, or we can cater for you, or we can do this, or we can do that. And to be honest with you, with the exception of a one-off where I may have done that, I refused to do that. Okay, and I still refuse to do it, because sometimes voluntarily I will wear those things, but you see, we are from here. We need to start correcting this mindset, right? We need to change this mindset of Islam equals Pakistaniness or the Gulf Arabness. Okay, it doesn't equal that. So we need to get out of this mentality. And I said that there are many Muslims. Muslims have countless role models and people who'd wear thobes and imamas and walk around with hats on and wear shalwar kameez and wear a jubba and do this and do that. They have countless role models like that. But what about all the other Muslims, the silent majority of Muslims, who may want to have an interest in Islam but just want to remain normal? I said I would rather be a role model for them, and two, I would rather be true to myself. That this is me. Like, I am this person. So I'm not going to pretend to be somebody else and perpetuate a problem which we're already suffering because it's creating a polarized difference, because many Muslims think to be religious you have to look like that, and therefore they don't want to be religious. And I've given the example before that, look, imagine in your area, whatever area you live in, all of a sudden Hindus started walking around dressed like swamis. That wearing those bright orange, kind of like male sari versions. Imagine the young Hindu guys started doing that. Be honest, what would your reaction to them be like? Would it be like, oh, that's cool, oh... I don't mean as a novelty, like you might think, whoa, okay, that's a novelty, but what would your true inner reaction be to them as a people? One, you would see them as immigrants. 2, you would think they're trying to make a political statement by doing that. 3, I don't care what you say, most people deep down wouldn't like it. Like they would think, why can't they just be normal? So imagine all Hindus in the UK started going around like that, wearing the, you know, the tikka kind of thing, whatever over there, and then going around like that. I don't care what people pretend to say in the open. Deep down, I know Muslims, if they started doing that in Muslim areas, I guarantee you that Muslims would end up becoming hostile. I can almost guarantee it. And then we act so confused that why people struggle. Because look, human beings have an innate kind of hostility to something that is different. Now I know that requires education, but I don't see the point in being adamant to make a point about religion when it's not even religion. So to do these things out of, like, one is you just do it because, like, so for example, in the UK, Muslim women, like let's take Pakistani women as an example. Pakistani women for decades have been wearing shalwar kameez. Till now, they wear shalwar kameez. They fashion it up. They've got stylish shalwar kameez out and stuff like this. The UK hasn't reacted negatively to that, because it recognized it just as, oh well, that's just their dress, and they're part of. You see, the difference is when Muslim young men start wearing not just the shalwar kameez, when they start wearing the thobe and the topi and the this and the that, or when girls start wearing the blacked out niqab and stuff like this, no longer is a cultural thing. This is seen as making a statement that we are separate to you. That's how it's perceived. Now, you may not be doing it like that, but it's perceived like that. And therefore, people obviously react. You know, to some people, it's seen as hostile, so they react with hostility. So anyway,